Think about it for a second. Over 24 films, billions and billions of dollars at the box office, and one single story told over an entire decade. The Marvel Cinematic Universe. It wasn't just a franchise, it was a complete Hollywood revolution. It totally redefined what a blockbuster could be and created this massive cultural phenomenon. But how in the world did they actually pull it off? And maybe more importantly, now that we're hearing all this talk about superhero fatigue, is that incredible empire they built finally starting to show some cracks?
To figure that out, we've got to go all the way back to the beginning. We're going to look at the totally radical idea that changed Hollywood, break down the decade-long blueprint that led to their success, examine the cracks that eventually started to show, and then dive into the huge game-changing bet Marvel is making right now to secure its future.
Okay, so to really get why the MCU was such a big deal, you have to understand the mess they were in before it existed. In the early 2000s, Marvel's biggest heroes, we're talking Spider-Man, the X-Men, they were making billions of dollars for other studios. Marvel was basically watching from the sidelines as its own characters blew up, making almost no money and having zero creative say. So out of all that frustration, they came up with this crazy bet the farm idea. What if we just become our own studio, take back control, and build a whole universe with the characters we have left?
And this, right here, is where our story really kicks off, with a massive gamble on an idea that, honestly, no one had ever really managed to pull off in Hollywood before. So, what was this big idea? Well, it was the shared universe. And it was Kevin Feige's baby. Now, sure, in the comics, this was just how things worked, but trying to translate that to blockbuster movies, with their giant budgets, competing superstar egos, and insane schedules, pretty much everyone thought it was impossible. The plan was just audacious. Let's make a bunch of standalone hit movies that are secretly all connected, building towards one massive overarching story. And this quote right here, this is basically the secret sauce. The number one rule, the thing they could not break, was simple. Each movie had to be great all on its own. Iron Man had to work as just Iron Man, period. All the connective tissue, the little references and those post-credit scenes, that was all just a bonus, like a reward for the fans who were really paying attention and coming along for the ride. Okay, so they had the idea. Great. But how do you actually build something that big? Well, that brings us to the Infinity Saga, that incredible 10-year journey that literally took us from a guy in a cave with a box of scraps all the way to a fight for the fate of the entire cosmos. They did it by organizing this massive story into what they called phases. Phase 1 was all about introductions, right? We had to meet and fall in love with a billionaire, a god, and a super soldier before they'd even dream of putting them all in a room together. Then, Phase 2 blew the doors open, taking us to new worlds like Asgard and all the way out to deep space with the Guardians of the Galaxy. And Phase 3? Well, that was the grand culmination, raising the stakes higher and higher with every single movie, all building to that universe-shattering showdown with Thanos. But here's the thing, this wasn't just some creative masterstroke. It was an absolutely brilliant business plan. The gears turning behind the curtain were just as important as the magic on screen. They got actors to sign these crazy long-term deals. I mean, a 9-film contract for Samuel L. Jackson? Nobody was doing that. They turned the post-credit scene into a viral marketing machine. And they even had special clauses in the contracts for bridging material, just to make sure Captain America could legally show up in a Thor movie. They literally baked that connectivity right into the DNA of the studio. And the result of all this? A run of success that was just unprecedented. It completely changed the game in Hollywood. It became the new gold standard that every other studio immediately tried and usually failed to copy. But you know what they say, building an empire is one thing. Keeping it going? That's a whole different story. Right, so after the absolute peak of Avengers Endgame, the MCU started to face a brand new villain, itself, its own success. And that's when you really start to see the growing pains. And you can see the problem pretty clearly right here on this chart. Back in the Infinity Saga days, we were getting about 2 movies a year, totally manageable. But then Disney Plus launched and boom, the floodgates just flew open. What used to be a carefully planned out story suddenly turned into this fire hose of content with up to 4 movies and 4 TV shows hitting us every year. It was just a lot. And look, this wasn't just fans complaining. The problem got so big that in 2023, the head honcho himself, Disney CEO Bob Iger, came out and basically said, yeah, we overdid it. he publicly admitted that all this expansion had diluted focus and attention. I mean, for the studio that built its reputation on planning everything perfectly, that's a huge admission that things had gotten way too big, way too fast.
And you could start to see the cracks forming everywhere. You know, old complaints like the villain problem started to feel a lot more real. Then you had these legendary filmmakers weighing in, questioning if these movies were even cinema. And then came the one thing that really gets Hollywood's attention: the box office. Movies started to stumble, and suddenly everyone was talking about superhero fatigue. So when your empire starts showing cracks, what's the move? You don't back down. You write a whole new playbook. And that's exactly what Marvel is doing right now. This is their next big bet.
First, to fight that feeling of being overwhelmed, they're slowing down, focusing on quality, not just pumping stuff out. Second, to help us all figure out what's what, they're creating these new labels for different kinds of stories. Third, they're trying to get costs under control by trimming budgets. And finally, to get everyone hyped again, they're about to unleash their biggest secret weapon. And that whole idea of new banners, like Marvel Spotlight, it's a really smart move, and it's aimed squarely at that audience burnout problem. It's basically Marvel saying, hey, you don't have to do the homework anymore. It's a permission slip to just watch the stories you're interested in without needing a flowchart to understand what's going on.
So, about that secret weapon, well, it's not just a character. It's the beginning of a whole new era for Marvel. Remember back in 2019 when Disney bought Fox? That was a huge deal because it meant two of Marvel's most iconic families, the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, were finally back home. And as you can see here, bringing them into the fold wasn't some last-minute decision. Nope, this has been a slow burn, a carefully planned strategy that's been in the works for years, all ready to kick into high gear after the multiverse saga ends.
And let's be clear, this isn't just about throwing a few fan-favorite characters into the mix for a quick box office bump. The word is, Kevin Feige has a 10-year plan for the X-Men. Think about that. They're not just the next chapter. They're being set up as the foundation for the entire next saga.
So, it really all boils down to this, doesn't it? Marvel is going back to its roots in a way, making another huge gamble. They're betting that by doing less, focusing more, and bringing in this massive roster of beloved new characters, they can reignite that spark. But the big question remains, in a Hollywood that's now full of the very cinematic universes they created, can they actually catch lightning in a bottle a second time? Can this next saga really be even bigger than the first? I guess we'll just have to wait and see.